of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tristado. Chapter 162. Desperate times. Secure in the knowledge that the kids were safe, Yagi Aizawa Toshinori wasted no time in using a combination of float, one for all, and black whip to speed himself, Jin, Chizome, Mirio, Tamaki, and the three non-pros to the abandoned church that the Wild Volley Pussycats had already reached. Young Kota was on his way to the All Might offices, of course. The cafe teens would look after him and help to keep him centered as his adopted family once again put their lives on the line. God, having teammates, having a family was the single greatest privilege of his life, but it made him worry. It made him fear more than even the dark days when he was young, motherless, quirkless.
We've just got word from Rai. He and his group are 2 minutes away from the subway station, and Fat Gum Senpai, thanks to Obero, is 4 minutes out from Toyland, but Ingenium is already there. He wants to know if he should go in or not.
Tell him to wait,
he called over the air rushing around them, his brows furrowing.
We win this by sticking together, keeping everyone safe, and getting Shouta and any other victims of this madness out of those bastards' clutches.
He furthered to a determined-looking Ikigai, the blood quirk user, tapping on his earpiece and relaying the information.
Ma, Deadmite, this new quirk of yours is something else, you know?
Blinking, his azure eyes meeting Dabi's steel, he felt a flicker of a smile on his lips.
Manjo-san thought it'd come in handy.
He tried to grin whilst they sped through the clouds, his family and teammates trailing closely behind him thanks to the jet black streams of power threading from his arms to their waists. They all looked determined. They all looked ready.
Oh!
We'll make pros out of all you mark my words. Unlikely.
What? Tommy-kun, you guys would be amazing. I bet you 100,000 yen that you can't do it.
Feeling some of the tension leach out of his shoulders at their good-natured bickering, Toshinori resolved himself to look ahead, to look past anyone who could be curiously looking out of office block and apartment windows, past the rumbling thunder preparing for a heavy downpour overhead, to look past the flock of gulls screeching their way across the air beneath them, to look, too, where his husband was. Everything's going to be fine now, Shouta-kun, he thought, one for all, boosting them closer to their goal. Because I'm here. I'm finally here. Huffing his quirk-restrictive gloves, swiftly recovering his fingers, Tomura glared down into the tunnel someone had burrowed into the church's foundation and lit up with a scowl.
I can't imagine Sho being stuck in such a foul place,
he partially growled as Jin sent 2 clones down to ensure the coast was clear, his anger softening lightly when his husband's calming, warming presence appeared at his side just as the thunder tumbling above the clouds doubled its volume, and spats of rain smeared against the old structure's busted roof and boarded windows.
He won't be down there for too much longer, though,
Spinner murmured next to him as Chizome jumped down to join his partner, and Toshiji nodded at the pussycats before he float-lowered himself to join them. He didn't like being shoved to the back of the group either, but considering the PHSC was going to be pissed as hell at the number 1 for allowing them to tag along, considering this was an abuse of their special permissions, well, he could swallow his pride. He'd swallow anything to ensure his guardian's safe return to them.
Okay, Twice, send your scouts down those tunnels.
You got it, boss!
Ikigai, you take point down this passageway and call out if you find anything. We'll be right behind you.
I'm on it. The wild-hair pro nodded, his katana brandished, as he sprinted ahead down the largest corridor-looking passage, with them following swiftly. Their footsteps echoed a little too ominously in the strangely cool, breathable air, didn't they?
All Might Sen, these vents, Spinner said as he scurried across the wall, his head inclining at them. They could be a problem if any of these bastards have a gas-based quirk, he added. There's cameras, too, he added, his clawed fingers snagging any that he came by, whilst Dabi scourged any others they spotted. Similarly, Tamaki had whipped out sharp-edged sucker-dotted tentacles to swipe at the electricity-spitting wires, effectively cutting them to depower any other monitoring device they couldn't see whilst ensuring that they didn't spark up. God, the last thing they needed whilst blinding the enemy was to set off a fire down here, even with his husband on hand to pyrokinetically control a blaze.
Hell, if any flames got hold of a fuel source in those highly oxygenated air vents, then this clusterfuck of a situation could turn nuclear on them, couldn't it? Shit.
Guys, you see that rippling across the walls or...
Whoa! Yelping the cement around them, warping oddly. Tomra bit off a curse while shucking his right glove off as the ground beneath them buckled and ruptured amidst a chorus of manic laughter that boomed and echoed from everywhere and nowhere at once. Fuck! As much as he hated his quirk,
I'm not gonna let you separate us, you bastards!
he was really fucking glad he had it right now.
Calm down. I can't get in touch with the pussycats, let alone Sir Night-Eye and others.
Helping his nephew to keep the walls literally off of them, Toshinori was growing more and more certain that not only had they found the right place, but the villains were vying for time. Shit! He just hoped that Tomoko and her lovers were keeping tabs from above them. The last thing they needed was anyone getting away in the chaos.
Focus on the laughter. If we pinpoint where it's coming from, then...
Oh, you believe you can find me? You think you have any power here? Oh my, no.
Hissing, the number one reached for and snagged Mirio and Tamaki by their capes and pulled them to him. Then the boys ducking under his arms, he and Tomra worked in tandem to ensure that the burgeoning mounds of earth and masonry didn't crush or separate them.
It didn't take you long to find us. I'll give you that much. Were you worried about that lovely husband of yours? Are you angry that we took it from you? I gotta say, we've really enjoyed having him around. He's really become one of the family, and now...
Gritting his teeth and trying his best not to rise to the bait, the one-for-all user beckoned twice over with a nod and whispered for him to clone Lemillion before gesturing to Nomori, Dabi, Mirio, and Chizome to him.
Rule 3. I want you to keep this guy distracted. Shout at him, girls. Do anything you can. He breathed. Ikigai. Go with Lemillion's clone. When you find this villain, paralyze him, if you can, so we can have a more even playing field. Midnight can knock him out when we get to you if doesn't cooperate. Alright?
Watching them nod, his other nephew leading the charge.
Sure you still, you fucking coward! You want to talk about family? I'll punch you so hard your grandchildren will feel it!
You're really playing to my most sadistic side, you know? Why not come out and let me punish you properly, huh?
Oh, my nose isn't the only one you've made angry, you Yakuza scumbags! Give us our big brother back now!
Toshinori sent Chizome and the provisional hero's clone on the hunt since the expert tracker was able to sense his partner's handiwork as it ghosted through the walls as the real boy would, whilst he and Tomra continued to smash and disintegrate the barriers that were trying to box in and squeeze them into submission.
Spinner, keep taking out those cameras.
Kenju!
Shanita, get your climb shields ready. We might need some cover from the debris.
Yes, sir.
Then his mind trying to drown out the criminal's taunting.
Let him go! Give him back! Not under life! It's ours now, understand?
If we can't have him, then no one will! The number one steeled himself and plowed his fist straight through a bulge, getting ready to attack Tomra and Dabi, his body alight with crackling energy as he waited for the...
We got him, senpai!
Watching as the passageway finally stabilized, he was zipping to where he heard Chizome call from, his black whip snapping out to latch onto Cocoon and carry his friends with him. Even as his eyes darted this way and that, looking for doorways, looking for any signs of his husband, he... Okay, Dickwad, where's it get that? Tell me, and I might not kick your teeth in. Easy there, Twice, we gotta do this the right way, alright? Coming to a halt, his nephews, Spinner, and the younger pros and pre-pros found the Mirio clone and the blood quirk user standing over a growling, glitching man, only a foot or so shorter than him, his muscular body not matching any of the Yakuza scum they knew of. Wonderful! How many more enemies could be lurking in the darkness?
Bastard! How'd you do this? You really nicked me with that shiny toothpick of yours! I only needed a spot of your blood to knock you on your ass and keep you there, friend. Now come on, get talking whilst we round up the rest of your comrades. Because if you do, then maybe the judge will go a little easier on you. Ah! You gotta be kidding! My boss is gonna bury all of you when he gets here!
Scowling, Toshinori loomed over him, whilst Jin and Chizome gestured for the provisionally licensed kids to follow them to carry on the search. Your boss? Is that Chisaki Kai or Oyabun? Watching as the villain balked before he redoubled his efforts to move, the blonde narrowed his eyes. They didn't know this person's blood type, which meant that they could have less than 2 minutes left to informally interrogate him.
Where is my husband?
Fuck you! Having snagged him by his shirt's collar and lifted him in a split second, the symbol of peace suddenly wasn't feeling as peaceful.
Where is my husband?
He's... The other hissed through raspy breath before a sly, cruel smirk tilted his thin lips. Not yours anymore. Ah! Oh! Dropping him, the sun-kissed hero turned on his booted feet and started running with his nephews to follow the Twices leading their way.
My skits have infinity doors, rumors are nothing, senpai. This place is like a maze out of Nezusan's darkest fantasies, you know?
Nodding at the third clone to join them, Toshinori felt his heart sink. These tunnels could lead anywhere. They seemed to be everywhere, even without that nameless thug manipulating them. Shit,
Whoa! Watch out! 'Cause the comet is...
Growling angrily as one of the double quirk users' doppelgangers made a sickening noise, as it was no doubt squelched beneath the vitality-absorbing fiend who had appeared in a wider, taller section of the corridor. He looked like one of the kids' more frightening monsters that roamed the boards of their D and G games, and potentially, he was here to serve the same purpose as a troll guarding a bridge.
They couldn't afford to waste any more time here.
Boys,
he breathed while striding towards the man who Tamaki, Mirio, Chizome, and Jin had fallen back from.
take the others, find Mori, and keep searching the tunnels carefully.
He furthered whilst the giant fiend grinned and spread his arms wide open.
Almighty, he exclaimed delightedly. You're likely to feed me almost as well as our cook does, right? Come at me with all your strength so I can drain you and smear you across the ground like the hero dog shit you are.
He furthered, and with that, he took a flying leap and smashed a brutal uppercut into the grinning maw, his cape billowing out in his wake like a raging azure sea fueled by protective rage. Holy shit! And he shouldn't have felt so satisfied to watch the hulking man burst through a wall and into another corridor, but...
So, that's what Plus Ultra looks like, huh?
He was through.
Playing nice! They'd been running around this godforsaken place for 10 minutes now!
This room's clear.
And sadly, every room they came across was empty.
Nothing here, Tomo-ni-san.
It almost felt as though someone had been just making chambers for them to find.
I think this could have been an office, but there's only empty bookshelves inside, sorry.
Growling, he kicked the next barrier he saw down and brandished his right hand into yet another person-free area, only this time it had been a bedroom.
Oh, fuck.
Brightening his flames, the former Todoroki stepped into the room and felt his eyes narrow at the papers intermittently strewn between toys, dolls, playsets, and hospitalware.
Dummy.
Crouching down, his left hand picked up a few. He felt his teeth grit.
He was here. He's been looking after that little girl.
He managed his trembling fingers, trying not to crumple the admittedly adorable, definitely precious drawings that showed a child with red eyes and a horn, and the long dark hair of his true father.
Shit, Spinner murmured. Come on, let's grab some of these up. We can put them on the Norneko's walls, when we welcome him back.
The younger gecko-quirked man murmured whilst his own shaky hands grabbed up, folded, and shoved the crudely drawn images into his jacket's inside pocket.
Hey, come on. We need to keep looking.
His husband murmured, his voice thick with an emotion he couldn't name.
Tomo,
he murmured, his eyes screwing shut.
You gotta watch me, okay?
He asked before he pulled himself into a stand, his hair igniting.
I don't want to be arrested for murder, but so help me.
He bit out, his shoulders quaking.
I want to kill these bastards.
Walking away from Katsukami Rikiya, his fists bloody until he removed his gloves, Yagi Aizawa Toshinori didn't spare so much as a glance at the unconscious man he'd hog-tied with his cape whilst he walked determinedly down the next Toragor he came across. To think that Shouta had been trapped here, to think that these monsters had coveted him,
Senpai! This way!
Blinking, he snapped his head up and ran at speed to where Jin was calling him.
What is it? What have you found?
He asked, his form a little out of puff as he picked up his pace. Oh God, was it Shouta? Was he here? This door, it's metal and reinforced or something. Chizome told him while gesturing at a vault-like barrier with Nomori, Spinner, Tomura, and Dabi stood around it. We can't get it open the proper way, so Tomukuni wanted to try and maybe Mammalian should go through, all right? Grunting, the oldest of their group shook his head.
It could be greater foes in there,
he warned, his body pulsing with power whilst he approached the bolted door.
I'm going to tear this out. So if anyone's inside, please step away or make yourself known,
he shouted, his keen sense of hearing listening out for anything just in case
Toshinori.
Gasping, his eyes widening as the group behind him bawled, the number one tore the barrier straight off its hinges and shoved it to the side.
Shouta-kun!
Oh, my brains! Come here! Not heeding Nomori's warning, the hero was inside the room at lightning speed, his booted feet skidding to a stop whilst his nephews and friends gasped behind him for... There, sat on a hospital bed, his body smattered with bandages, his eyes hidden from view and dabbed with blood, was...
Show!
Appearing at his most precious person's side. The sun-kissed pro easily tore through the leather bindings which kept his husband strapped to the bed asunder, his arms wrapping around him, pulling him close. Ew, you're not cute at all! Get off of me!
What?
Yelping at the feel of something sharp digging into his shoulder, drawing blood, he was sure Yagi Aizawa Toshinori released the man who was giggling at him and stumbled away. Oh God, had they driven his lover mad? Had he...
Hey, don't you know that just up and grabbing someone is rude, huh? Your blood doesn't taste all that good either.
Gasping, the so-called symbol of peace took another step back, even as Tomura and Dabi rushed to him, the younger of the men hastily pushing something against the cut he could feel burning in his flesh as they all stood and looked on in sheer unadulterated horror, whilst Shouta licked the dagger he brandished.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think I was someone else? No?
His left hand lifted the bandages from his eyes, and there was a gleam glinting across them, a giddy smile stretching his lips to reveal fangs.
Ma, Papa-san was so nice, so caring, and so good with Eri-chan too.
His husband tittered in a warped voice while chunks of him fell away.
You're a little late, all night, Hassan.
He sniggered before inclining his head towards the people so bewilderedly stood behind him.
Which one of you is Chisame-san? Papa-san said he'd be a great teacher for me, you know?
What in the world was happening?